Okay, so you got a craving for ice cream. And so you decide, well, I'm just going to go down to the ice cream parlor and go get me an ice cream cone. All right, so you go down there and you look up on the menu, and the only thing they've got is vanilla. Well, how boring is that? I mean, at least they could do is have strawberry or chocolate, right? Well, it's the same thing with mortgages. At least they could have is different kinds of mortgages out there. Well, it turns out they do. And if you'll stick around, I'm going to introduce a few of them to you. Okay, so today, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce three different types of mortgages to you. One of them is called a constant payment mortgage, which you're probably more familiar with. The other one is called a constant amortization mortgage, which may be new to you. And the other one is a graduated payment mortgage. And that's also one that may be new to you as well. But each one of them have their uses. But what we're going to do is spend some time today in this video we're going to spend some time building an amortization table for each type. And then we're going to look at how the fees affect the pricing or the effective cost of those mortgages along the way. Okay. And then we're also going to take a look at the implication of these loans and how you might use them for different types of activities. All right. So I hope you enjoy the video. That's long. Now, this is a very long video. It's what I did to make it easier. If you look down in the description below, I actually did break it up into smaller pieces for you. So if you want to take a look at that, the links are down there below. Also, I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please give us the thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you get notified when new videos come out. All right. Well, let's start off with the constant payment mortgage. And as it sounds, it's the normal one that you're used to, where you're having the payment being structured level all the way across until you pay off the note. But let's look at, we're going to build an amortization table, and then we're going to look at how those fees look. Also, let me give you a heads up throughout this video. Setting up these amortization tables can be a little tedious. So if you feel like you need to just stop and pause the video, stop it and rewind it and go back. You're not going to miss anything in there on that. All right. So enjoy the constant payment mortgage. All right. So let's start building a spreadsheet here. All right. I've already done some work here for you. We're going to build a amortization table here, but I've already built a few of them so we can compare them. Okay. So let's just get started here. If we take a look across the top over here, you see our terms of interest. Term is 20 years. The building value is $2 million. We're going to have a loan to value ratio of 80%. So therefore, our loan amount is $1.6 million. Our down payment has to be $400,000. And in this particular case, we have a 2% fee of whatever type it could be. Okay, it could be that you're paying down points or some type of fee for origination. Anyway, it's $32,000 in this particular case. All right, so let's build this spreadsheet. So the easiest way to do this is take a look. We get our monthly, our months, our beginning balance, interest payments, principals, ending balance. And in this particular case, we're creating two extra columns here to analyze our cash flows, both with the fee and without the fee. So let's just get started here. The best way to build this spreadsheet is to go ahead and let's take a look at our months. Now, this is going to be 240 months. So if we take here and we go bring this down, and we drag it all the way down to the bottom down here, and calculate it. Oops, you got to be careful to get ahead of us. And it's not very forgiving. Come on, get back up there. Go to 240. There we go. There we are. Click out of that for a sec. All right, let's go all the way up to the top here. And then we come down here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab that cash flow, pull it over. All right. And then on our interest column, what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to go equals to V7, which is our beginning balance, times, we got to get our interest in here, which is going to be our interest rate. Now, one of the things you want to do is freeze this column, okay? So in this case, you're going to hit Shift F4. Whoops, excuse me. Let's do that backwards. Let's go F4 then. There we go. Some computers is Shift F4. Others, it can actually be function 4. In this case, it's function 4. All right. So now what's happening here is we're doing this monthly, so we do need to divide it by 12. So we're going to go ahead and divide this number by 12. And then we come over here. All right. So that's our interest payment. Now, our payment, there's actually a function in Excel called payment. And if you go here, you pull in payment. Now, one of the things it does is it gives you all the components you need there. So here's the rate, okay? So we're going to go up here and grab this rate. Again, we're going to freeze it because we don't want it changing on us. And it's by 12 months. And then we're going to come through and we're going to put our comma in there. And then what we need to do is have a term. So here's our term, and we want to freeze that. All right. And that's times 12, okay? And then we're going to put a comma. Now, these payments are going to start declining. So we have to come in here and do a negative. And then we're going to go to D2, which is our loan amount. We're going to freeze it. And then we're going to close the parentheses and hit enter. All right. So that's our payment. Now, our principal is literally going to be our payment minus our interest, right? So there it is. And then what we're going to do is our adjusted balance now is that minus our principal. We hit enter. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Now we're going to drag and drop. So we're going to copy this all the way down. And some computers, you can actually double click it. And it did this case. Magically, it came all the way down. I would not trust that if I were you. I'd come down here and check it. So don't ever trust that. I've seen it go way far. In this case, it did it. Now, you know you're right because it has a zero balance here at the bottom. You've paid off this mortgage. All right. Now, let's go over here real quick. Let me click out of that so we don't accidentally mess something up. Now, let's go over here. Now, in this particular case, if we take a look at our bank cash flow here, this is taken into account that this is how much money, this is taking out this $32,000 fee. All right, so watch this. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to say this is equal to our payment. Hit enter. Okay. And then once again, all the way down. Make sure it all the way went all the way down. All right. Now, commonly, let's take a look at how finances is looked at. So if you notice that there's a negative sign here and a positive sign here, and that's typically telling you which direction the cash is flowing. From the perspective of the person taking out the loan, they're receiving a loan. That money's coming at them, so it's positive. From the perspective of the lender, they spent the money, okay? So they're looking for flows to come back to them in a positive manner. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do our internal rate of return. And we're going to look at that. So we've got an IRR, okay? And literally, we're just going to go all the way down and grab it. All right, close parentheses. Now we're going to multiply this times 12 because we had to get that back in there. There we go. And sure enough, we've got a 4.29% effective rate. That's what the bank made off of your fee. All right. So now let's go over here and take the cash flows that you actually paid. So here we go. We're going to copy this over here. Well, this is going to be a negative number, right? Minus, and then we're going to hit that and then hit enter. And if you notice, it gave us a negative number because those cash flows are going away from us. Again, come over here and double click. All right. Now we can analyze those cash flows as if there was never a fee in there. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We got our equals our IRR. All right, now let's grab all those payments. We're going to close that parentheses. Oops, excuse me. Shouldn't have done that. Let's go back here. Let's just do this again. Okay. Let's grab those parentheses times 12, enter. And of course, that matches what we actually paid in our interest rate. Makes sense, right? Now let's take a look at the net present value. And what that is that's looking at all the value of all your cash flows in the dollar amount. All right. So here we go. Now Excel does something very interesting. They don't have a true net present value like you would find in a calculator. So what you have to do is you have to work around it real quick. So let's do this. So our net present value, we're going to go over here to G6 here. We're going to grab it. That's what our payment was going out, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the NPV. And here, follow the instructions underneath it. It's got the rate. So we're going to come over here and hit our rate. And then what we're going to do is put our comma, and then we're going to do the values all the way down here. All right. And then we come up here and we close the bracket. Now it's our net present value. Now let's just take a look at it here. Now in this particular case, here we go. Let me go ahead and get this done here real quick. I'm sorry. And there we go. We are going to hit our value here plus our NPV. Okay, take our NPV here, and we got our rate. We have our rate over here. And then we're going to drag these all the way down. And you're going to see something here in a second. It's very interesting. All right. If you take a look at the difference between these two values, the net present value of all those cash flows, you're going to notice that the difference is that $32,000. So in reality, what you did is you paid a 20 or a 0.23% surcharge to get that. You have to evaluate that later. We're going to go over a different video that goes over the incremental cost of capital and what the implication of all that is. So now we've already built this one. Let's go take a look at it and we'll experiment a little bit. In this particular case, this loan is actually a 30-year loan with the same terms. And if you notice that the NPV is different, same thing. So in this particular case, there's also no fees. So it's 4.06 and 4.06, which is what you would expect to find. All right. We're going to go over here to this number 3 here, and you see that it's the same thing, same terms. All the terms are the same, except now we're back to that $32,000 fee that was in there. And if you'll notice, the cash flows to the bank are a little higher than they were in the 240, which is what you would expect because that mortgage was out there longer. Okay. And the same thing here. Now, this one I actually changed the interest rate, and you can see how that affected your cash flows. So the effective rate here was 3.16 versus 3.0 here. So you paid 0.16% difference in incremental cost, a little bit less than what you paid at the higher interest rate. All right, let's take a look at the results of all that. Oh, by the way, let's go ahead and get into this done real quick. So we're going to have to build this table out real fast. Let me go in here and grab this for us. Same thing here. All right. Okay, so we can actually compare these now fairly easy. So in our first one, which is the demo, the term was 240 months versus the 360 months. And it was a 30-year mortgage versus, this one's a 20 versus a 30-year. And you can see how the fees came out a little bit different versus the fees as they came out in the constant payment mortgage loan with no fees. And the same with a 2% fee. And here it was just a change in interest rate. So what we map out is the cash flows coming from here. Okay. Now, one of the good things that you should do and get used to when you're constructing spreadsheets is you don't hardwire really anything except for inputs that must be inputted. Those can be hardwired. But what you want to do is leave things alone up in here to where all you have to do is change the function here. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to change this one to, we'll say 5%. We can do that. Notice how it all changed here. If we built this spreadsheet correctly, then the results should have come through over here, and they did. All right, so now that you've had a chance to build a constant payment mortgage amortization table and look at those fees, let's now take a look at the constant amortization mortgage. And it is as it sounds. In this particular case, it's not a constant payment mortgage where the payment is held level. In this case, it's the amortization is held level, and it is the payments that change. So what we're going to do is we're going to build an amortization table so you can explore how those payments change. And we're going to look at the analysis of the fees so you know what your effective rate really is. What is that loan really costing you? Also, at the end of this video, we're going to look at some things as to how they compare to the other notes and how you might use that in a specific situation. All right, enjoy. Now we're going to take a look at our constant amortization mortgage, and you're going to see some differences here. So we can get this up and running. Well, first of all, let's just build a amortization table. In this particular case, I've set these up the same so we can go back at the end of this, at the end of our 7-part series, and we can really look at how the cash flows are different with the same types of loans. So in our first episode, we built a 20-year term rather than a 30-year. So we'll go ahead here. So the terms are the same. All right, so let's go build this table. So first thing we got to do is, we got to get to 240 months. This is a 20-year mortgage. So you just build that up there, and let's copy this down. And let's drag it down until we get to 240. And this is not very forgiving, so you have to be careful not to get out past 240 because it's very slow taking it off. There's 240. All right, there we go. We got 240 payments there. All right. Let's go back up to our very top. And so in our beginning balance, we're going to go ahead and pick our ending balance up here. All right. And then we're going to look at our interest. So here we go. In our interest, we're going to do, it's going to be B7, which is this one right here, times our interest rate, which is right here. Now we want to freeze this so it doesn't adjust with our calculations as we go forward. So there's that. All right, now we're going to do something a little different here. In the past, we actually had a payment button for this one, and we could actually build that out. Here, we're going to have to use a constant amortization. So let's build that one next. All right, so we're going to go equals. We're going to have our loan amount. Okay, we're going to freeze that. That's F4. Okay, and some computers just shift F4. It could be control F4 and others. You just have to find out what you have basically in your computer. And we're going to divide that by our term, which we're going to freeze. Well, let's put that in parentheses, by the way. I don't want to mess with that. Let's just put that in our parentheses. Okay, we're going to put that in parentheses. We're going to freeze it. All right. And then we're going to multiply that by 12 because we got to get that to 240 months. And there is our principal. Okay. In this case, our payment is simple. It's the interest plus our principal. And there we go. That's your payment each month. Or this will adjust. Okay, so now let's take a look and see what our ending balance will be. So we're going to take there minus our principal, and that'll give us our ending balance. Now, here's one of the tricks you can go do. Hopefully Excel will play with us today. Well, if you highlight all that and let that handle get right there and double click it, it should take it all the way down. Don't trust that. Always go down and check and make sure that it actually gave you a zero amortization down here at the bottom. It's zeroed out. That also tells you did it right. So we check that there. All right, now let's find out let's take a look at these cash flows real quick. So as we can tell, our interest is starting off high and it goes down, just like in the original constant payment mortgage, but our principal remains the same. When we put these together, our payments begin to get smaller over time. And so you can imagine how your cash flows are going to look. You're going to pay higher. Your cash flows going out are going to be more in the beginning of that loan than at the end of the loan. This is different than the constant payment mortgage. All right, so let's take a look at the cash flows to the bank. So here's our payment. There's that. And let's just see if we can get our baby to, it played with us. All right, good. So we come all the way down here. Here's our cash flows to the bank. Okay. Making sure those all work for us. All right. So the bank, because of the fee, actually has their cash flows are different because of that. We're going to come over here real quick and do the same thing on this side. But in this particular case, we're going to do a negative of our payment. Hit enter. All right. And will it play with us? And it probably will not. Nope, it didn't. So what you got to do is come all the way down and pay attention. I told you right there, it'll get away from you. It's not very forgiving going back up. There it is. Go right there, release it, and it'll give us that. All right. So those are the payments without the fee. Okay. So this cash flow reflects the fee. This is without the fee. And you can take a look at what you paid for that difference in money. So you got your 4.06 in cash flow, or in interest, but your effective rate with the fee in it is 4.32. So you paid a difference of that.
And this is also your net present value here to the bank with cash flows, or with the fees, without the fees. All right. So now let's take a look at our constant amortization mortgage without fees. And you can tell from the very top, first of all, this is different. This is a 30-year mortgage. So we looked at that one. So your payments are going to be smaller, and your principal is going to be smaller too. So your amortization amount is less. But again, at the end of this, it still equals to zero. So you're amortizing constant payments. All right. Now, in this particular case, because there was no fees, the internal rate of return of those cash flows are the same, which makes sense because there's no fees involved. However, this is your cash flows for your net present value of this. Take a look at this amount right here, and let's go back down here and take a look at our constant payment mortgage. Notice that this one's a little bit more than this. It's a little bit more money in the constant payment mortgage. This brings up some serious questions that your bank may have with you, because they may want some type of maintenance fee on that. They want that money. All right. So when we take a look at our second version here, it's the same thing, except this time we have a fee in it. And you paid 0.26 or 0.2 more for having that fee in there on that incremental cost of capital. All right. Let's take a look at our third term. This case, we are doing it at 3%. Notice that the amortization amount's the same, but your interest is different. Okay. So our cash flows came out different. So the cash flows to the bank are 3.18% because of the fees charged. And of course, you still have, without the fees, the effective rate would be 3.0. So you paid 0.18% on that $32,000 is what that meant over the term of the note. So let's take a look at the results of all of this. So here's the results. In our demo, where we had a 240-month payment, we had 3.2 or 4.32% internal rate of return with a net present value of $1,284,157.39. Well, that one went wrong here. Actually, you can go in there and adjust this. Let's just format that cell real quick. We can format it to a currency. Hit OK. There we go. Looks much better. And you can study these loans as they're going across the top as we change the terms. And it gives you a lot of insight as those cash flows.
All right, so now that you had a chance to build that constant amortization mortgage model, you probably noticed something, that you started off with payments that were really high and they started going down really low, okay? And so that's different than your constant payment mortgage, where the constant payment, or the payment as it sounds, the payment's the same. What is being held normal or steady in the constant amortization mortgage is the amortization. Also, you might have noticed that there's a difference in the cost of or the effective rate that you're actually paying. Pay attention to that as well. Now, this next one up, which is a very tedious amortization table, I'll warn you right off the top. It is hard to put together. So if you need to go take a break, we'll take a break, okay? But come back. Don't forget that if you do get lost in creating this amortization table, just stop and go back and rewind a couple times. But it's really instructive for you to get a chance to build this, and I think you'll get a good flavor of what's going on. Back to our flavors. Okay, so now, in a graduated payment mortgage, it is as it sounds, where the payment is going up, more like a staircase. But what you're going to see is that you start off really light and you go up. All right, now let's put the amortization table together and study the fees. Enjoy.
Now, I did change up the format a little bit different so it doesn't confuse you from the previous episodes. We're still keeping the same value of the property at $2 million, loan to value ratio 8%, and the loan amount of $1.6 million. That's the same. Same as the interest rate. It's 4.06% over a 30-year mortgage this time rather than a 20. Then we're going to have, now the graduated payment mortgages, the way they work is they reset every so often. In this case, it's 5 years. And then there's the incremental cost of that capital, which is 18%, which is the unique characterization or character of a graduated payment mortgage. You actually get to see what the incremental cost is of that capital. But it has a very unique cash flow footprint. We're going to see that here in a second. But first, let's go ahead and build the amortization table. Now, bear with me. It's very complicated. So like I said, if you get to a point where where it's getting ahead of you, just stop the recording and make sure you get the formulas in correctly. The very first thing we have to do, though, is we have to figure out our initial payment. And this is pretty complicated. So let's go ahead and get started here. Here we go. We're going to start right here in our formula. We're going to figure out our payment. Okay. So we're going to put a 1 here, hit enter. And on this one, we're going to have to put a formula in. So we're going to be equals to, and this is where it's important to keep up with the parentheses, 1 plus, we're going to go up here and we're going to go, okay, B10 is our incremental amount. We need to freeze that, and everybody's computer is a little bit different. You'll know it's frozen because you'll see the two dollar signs in there, one for the column and one for the row. Some computers, it's actually function F4, others is shift, and others could be control F4. You just have to decide what it is on your computer. We're going to close this parentheses. We're going to raise it to the power, okay? Put another parentheses in, and we're going to go here to B23, raise it to that one, minus 1, okay? Hit enter. All right. You'll know it's correct because it's higher than the 1 in front of it, all right? We're going to grab it and drag it down to 5, and each one of these should incrementally go higher. All right. Now, the next one we're going to do is from year 6 all the way to 30. So let's take a look at that. So again, we're going to equal sign, parentheses, 1 plus B10. Freeze it. Close it. Raise it to the power. This time we're going to do it as 6 minus 1 and hit enter. Okay. Next thing we got to do is figure out our monthly present value of an interest factor of an annuity. And I'm not going to go into the definition of that tonight. We're going to tie all that up in episode 7 in a nice, pretty bow for you. But just suffice that we need to calculate it. We're also going to need to do the same thing just for the interest factor. All right. But right now, let's do it this way. All right. So here we go. It's going to be equal the present value, parentheses. You're going to have the rate, which is right here. We're going to freeze it. We're going to divide it by 12 because it's monthly. We're going to put a comma there. We're going to go, it's 12 months. We're going to be looking at the future value of $1, and we're going to close that. We're also going to multiply it by a -1 and hit enter. There we go. Now we're going to drag this all the way down. All the way down. I'm sorry. You go up 1. There we go. Now at 6, we're a little bit different. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go PV. And we're going to do here, our rate, freeze it, divided by 12. The comma in there. Now here's where we're going to do something different. We're going to put a bracket there. We're going to multiply 25 times 12 because that's what we have remainder in the note. We're going to put a comma in, and of course it's still at $1. Close the parentheses times -1. Hit enter. All right. Next, we're going to use the monthly present value of an interest factor. So let's go ahead and do that. We've got equals to 1. Do that there. And here, now pay a real close attention because this formula is very different. All right, so we're going to have our parentheses. We're going to have a 1 divided by parentheses 1 plus parentheses our B8, freeze the frame, or freeze the cell. All right, divided by 12. Close the brackets twice or it won't let you do it. To the power of B22 times 12. Close the parentheses and close it again. All right, if everything went right, it'll go right, and it did. All right, so this one should actually decline. It should go down a number. So here we're going to go all the way down here. Drag it all at the bottom. All righty. Now this one's rather simple. It's just literally column 2 times column 3 times column 4, just like it says in the formula. Okay, you got that one, and you're going to drag it all the way to the bottom, right there. And that changes our factor. So this now produces our initial payment. All right. Now let's come down here and actually do the amortization table. And again, like we've done in the past, you hit enter, enter, and then just come up here and grab it. Grab the handle and follow it all the way down. It's not very forgiving, so you got to make sure that you're careful here. There's 360 payments. All right. Let's get over here, go back up to the top. Wind it way up to the top. Okay. We're going to equal it to our payment, which is what we figured out right here. Hit enter. All right. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to say equal to here. Hit enter. And we're going to come back and we're going to drag it all the way down to 12. We should get our number. All right. Now, if you notice, I put these little cheat marks in here so that you can see where your factor is going to change. All right, so that's your end of year. So when we go to make our payment this time, okay, we're going to come along here. We're going to go equal to this one right here, this cell, B51, freeze it, okay, and we're going to multiply it by parentheses of 1 plus B10, freeze it. Okay. Close the parentheses and hit enter. All right. Now here's the cool thing. We're going to take that one and we're going to drag it all the way down. I'm going to show you how to cheat here a little bit. Drag that all the way down to the bottom. Don't worry. It'll copy it all the way the same all the way down. We're going to go all the way back up here to the top and watch what happens. All righty. So now we're going to come down here to 25. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at that number. Just come up here and change this real quick. So 63. And hit enter. And drag it all the way down. All right. And then come down here. And this is a nifty little way to get past your always having to redo this formula. Good time-saving technique. Okay. And then hit that, double click it. All right. Come down here to this one. Okay. Okay. And we're going to hit, going to be 87 because that's the cell we're looking at. It's always the preceding cell. Okay. There it is. Double click it. Okay. Come down here to 5. And here we go. We're going to hit 90. 90. Hit enter. Double click it. And there it goes. All right. So now we're done with creating this payment plan, right? Get all the way to the bottom. Click out of it real quick so we don't accidentally change something. Now, the interest payment. Here we go. So here's where we're going to go equal to. We're going to have to go positive because these numbers can go negative. So we're going to make sure we're going to force it positive. We're going to go put our interest rate in. We're going to freeze it, of course, and divide it by 12. And then we're going to multiply it by E39, which is right here. All right. This is where our balance is on our note. Hit enter. Okay. And then what we're going to have is our principal. We're going to figure out our principal, which is also going to be, we're going to force it. We're going to go B40 right there. Okay. Minus C40 right there. Hit enter. And it went negative on us. I did that on purpose. All right. And our balance is going to be equal to, force it to be positive. We're going to force the positive. We're going to go E, which is right above us, minus D40. Hit enter. Okay. Okay, that should not have worked like that. Let's go back here real quick. Did we get it right? Oh, that's the reason why. 40. Ta-da! That's how I know it's right. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go here, and we're going to double click it, and it should have done it all the way to the bottom. How do you know it's complete? It's because if you go all the way to the bottom, you should see a 0 in your payment. So we go all the way bottom, confirm it. We go all the way bottom, we should see it fully amortized, and we did. So we know it's right. But we need to compare this to a constant payment mortgage, which is what we're going to do differently today. All right, so I'm going to get back up here to the top. Here, we're just going to look at our payment. So we're going to hit equal to payment. We're going to get to our payment formula here. And we're going to go to our rate, okay, which is B8 divided by 12. We're going to multiply it by loan term. Or, sorry, we're going to do the comma loan terms next. times 12. Takes care of our monthly payments. And then we're going to look at negative B7 as being our loan amount because we're paying that out. Okay, so we're going to hit negative B7. Okay, close our parentheses. All right, hit enter. And that's going to be our loan payment under a constant payment mortgage. Again, you just double click that and it tears it all the way to the bottom if it decides it wants to to cooperate with us. All right. Let's go here and get this done. Let's go F4. F4, just to do it correctly there. Let's hit enter. Okay, now let's try it and see what it does. Nope. Didn't like that either. Okay. Always something with this. Let's try this again. Okay. We got B8. First of all, let's get this back. B8. All right. Get all the way through this thing. And okay, B8. Okay. Divided by 12. There's that times 12. And that is negative B7. Oops, sorry. I have that there. I wonder if it's because that needs to be parentheses around it. It does. Parentheses B9 times 12. Okay. Nope, didn't like it. I wonder what happened here. Payment. B8 divided by 12. B9 times 12. And then we have negative B7. All right, hit enter. Okay. Okay. Hit enter. What is wrong with you? Okay. Yeah, okay. F4. F4. Enter. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. All right, finally, folks. Finally got all that done. If you saw me click out, I had to go through and edit because even I made a mistake on there. I didn't freeze a couple of frames, and our payment came out wrong. Okay, so here we go. We're going to definitely do some editing in this one. All right, so now we've completed it. And one of the things you're going to notice in here is that our payments take some really different turns here. You start seeing these negative numbers in here, and it's going to show up right here. This is the same exact loan, all right? And we look over here, completely, the table is completely done. Actually, you can come in, and if I can get that to quit messing with me, you can see where it went all the way out. All right. So now what we want to do is go up here, bring that back in. Sorry. Zoom a little bit more reasonably. And so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at this graduated payment mortgage versus a CPM. So this red line is a CPM. It's a constant payment. It's level, okay? But here you see the stair stepping that starts to occur, okay, in the note. So it starts off with a really low payment, and it just keeps going up until finally it comes out at the very top over here, okay? Now let's look over what happens to your mortgage amount, though, the balance on your mortgage. It kind of balloons up a little bit. It grows, and then it starts going back down. So it negatively amortizes for a while. That means the balance goes up. Let's take a look here at 2. And here we've changed it a little bit. We've added 2 points to this, and it's changed just a little bit. It's spread it out a little bit further. The stair step is a little bit flatter, okay? Same thing on the note. You notice that the note itself is kind of flattening out a little bit more, all right? And we're going to go here to this one. In this particular case, we took a look at our constant payment mortgage. You see, here's that line, and here's the stair step incremental in the payments. All right. But in this particular case, the graduated payment mortgage loan balance is a little bit, it's more downward shaping. But look what happens. So if you've programmed your stuff right, all you have to do is change a couple factors and things work a little bit different. All right. So if we come over here real quick, and let me drag this bad boy over here so you can see it. Drag that over here a little bit better. If I go change this to, say, 10%, see how it starts to get, the hump starts going in there? So we're going to go back up to this 18%. And when I do, oops, sorry. I got that in the wrong thing. I should have been 5. Let's go here and make it 18%. See how that humps, the hump changes? And look at that, how it changes here too.
Okay, so now you've had a chance to look at all three, the constant payment mortgage, the constant amortization mortgage, and the graduated payment mortgage. And it doesn't take long to figure out that there's some utilization for it. It's that graduated payment mortgage starts off really nice and light. Now, it's a stair step. It's not smooth. But one of the things you did see is if you inflated those the payments, it could get a hump. So the downside of the graduated payment mortgage is you could get negative amortization. So you got to be careful about how you structure that. But that particular loan could definitely be used in a situation where you're doing maybe a development project where you don't have any tenants in a building and you're needing to lease up. That also could be one in which you bought a building which had no one in it. Okay, so you're going to have to go out and go get tenants. So what you would want is it to match your cash flows so that as your cash flow at the bank goes up, so does your tenant cash flow to you come back or go up. And let me stop right here. If you've paid attention to any of my other videos, in fact, if you get a chance, get a hold of the video that's in my playlist called The Nature of Finance. That's a good one to watch. Inside that video, we talk about the 3 things that finance people are looking for is the magnitude of cash flow, timing of cash flow, and risk of cash flow. And graduated payment mortgages are a great example of that because in the beginning of your development project or your lease up, you don't have a whole lot of money coming in. So what you're trying to do is engineer your cash flows to where it matches what your payment's going to be. Now, that's also true on the constant amortization mortgage. So if you notice that, in the constant amortization mortgage, you started off with higher payments and it went down. Higher payment. I'm going to get myself on the camera here. Yeah, here we go. You notice that the payment started off high and it went down, okay, to a lower amount until the mortgage was completely amortized. Get that out, amortized. All right. Now, that situation might be one in which you plan on selling off a building. Maybe you have a takedown note of some type. You know, you got properties that you're going to sell off. A great example, maybe you have a campus of properties, so you're just selling off each one of these pieces. So as your cash flows begin to come down, it matches your mortgage. Okay, so that would be a good one for that one. Now, the last one, of course, is the one everyone is used to, and that is that constant payment mortgage. And what is that good for? Well, that's good so that if you know what your payments are going to be, it makes it easy to determine what your cash flow should be to match it, right? Also, the constant payment mortgage is really good for mature properties where you actually know what those leases are going to be. They're there, Okay, it's a mature property, and so you can match your leases up to the payment structure on your constant payment mortgage. Again, the whole purpose of all of these is so that you can match your payments up to your mortgage, your cash flows. That's the engineering side. Now, we only touched on a couple of these. In future videos, we're going to talk about a couple other ones, like a PLAM or a SAM loan. We got all kinds of names for these things. Okay, so we're going to look at some of those. Also, we're going to, in this video, if you notice, we didn't go into the technical aspects of what these loan types actually solve as well, like tilt and that kind of thing. Don't get lost in that. But in the future videos, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that, go a little bit more detail on it. Okay, have a great day. Also, before I go, I'm going to put on an end card on the end of this video, the next suggested videos for you, so you might stay tuned for that. Thank you.